So I'm filming this for me and me alone because I want to remember this day and this feeling that I'm having, and I look like crap because I'm an emotional mess. But we're going to try to get through this, and I'm probably going to start crying, and that's what this blanket that's been my tissue all night is for. But I want to have this memory because I feel like it's important to have this memory and to hold this close to my heart. So here we go. What a ride, man. Like 15 years. I've only been in the fandom for 9 years, which is like over half. So that's like, impressive. But like I wasn't even here at the beginning, and just to watch it all culminate was crazy. And I don't care what other people are saying. I love that episode. Like, I loved it. I thought it was so beautifully done because I thought it took us all right back to the roots and to everything, I know that people are mad about the lack of Cass and Jack. And I know that people are mad that Dean's death was from a vampire by stake nail in the middle of wood. But like, I thought it was really good because the thing is, like, first of all, Supernatural has always been about the brothers, okay? I love Cass and Jack and all the other characters. I do. I love them to death. Jack is my favorite character on the show. Like, I love it. I do. I love him. But the core of the show, and they said this in like the special and everything, the core of the show will always be the two brothers and their relationship. And that's exactly how it ended. I mean, it started this episode with this amazing domestic Sam and Dean relationship, showing them being brothers and them just spending their time together and enjoying themselves. That freaking moment where Sam put a pie in Dean's face was one of the best things this show has ever given us. I mean, between all of the brotherly relationships, all of the emotional moments, the funny moments, the little tidbits that just prove they're brothers, that one was like freaking gold, okay? Because from a personal standpoint, that's something that Jared probably wanted to do to Jensen more than anything else. I was just like, guys, can we put this in? And they were like, heck yes. And to see the glee on Sam's face after he did it, and like the full on like, are you kidding me? You're such a child from Dean, but also just like he freaking scoops it off of his nose and eats it. Like, dorks. I love them. They are the best brothers ever. And that just furthered itself in the finale. Like, I get it. I get how upsetting it is that the thing that took Dean out was a rusty nail on a pole. But it's also so poetic and interesting for what the show has done because, like, yeah, he's fought God and demons and the devil and angels and everything in between for 15 years, for longer. But he and Sam have been in this fight hardcore for 15 years. And as much as I would have loved to see them just be able to live happy lives together, it wouldn't be Supernatural if we did that. It wouldn't be an ending if that was the case. Like, we all knew this show was going to end with them dying. And I'll admit, I was not expecting to lose Dean within the first half hour and then have to process that for the next half hour and then deal with both of them being, like, that was not what I was expecting. I was expecting, like, an ending sacrifice with both of them. Not like, oh, we gotta kill Dean right away. Like, that threw me off. I kind of thought they were kidding. I was kind of like, wait, no, like, what? You can't do that? I'm like, we have a half hour left. That can't be right. I was like, they're kidding, right? I, like, genuinely thought, okay, like, let me just walk through that for a minute. So, that whole fight, right? Like, this is literally just for me, but I don't even care. That whole fight, like, Dean just, the second he went up against the pole, he, like, cringed. Like, I knew they showed it to us for a reason, but I thought it was going to be that Dean was going to push the vamp up against it, and we were going to be like, oh, vamp's dead. But, like, nah. Instead, Dean got pushed up against it. But all he did was, like, like, he just kind of, like, cringed, and I was like, oh, did it not actually, like, stab him? Like, did it look bigger than it was? Like, what the frick? And then he's, like, fighting off the vamp, so I'm like, okay, so he's probably fine, right? Like, that's a very Dean Winchester thing. You cut yourself open and you're fine. But then, you know, Sam cuts off the head, and Sam's like, let's go, and Dean's like, nope. And I was like, wait, like, he's actually, like, punctured? Like, hold on. So then I was freaking out. And then, like, I thought they were kidding. It was like, we were 25 minutes in. I didn't really start crying until, like, the whole confession, because I was like, no, like, there's gotta be a way. There's gotta be something. Their son is God, for crying out loud. But, like, no, it makes sense. That whole thing, that entire confession scene was beautiful, okay? The acting, everything about that was pure gold. The fact that, like, the thing about that whole thing is that Dean knew here's my thing, right? Here's my take on it. Everybody's mad that a rusty nail was what wound up taking him down. And I get it, because, like, you know, they fought really powerful things. But at the same time, it makes so much sense to me, because they've fought the craziest monsters, and they've stood up against everything out there. They defeated God. It's their time to rest. I mean, like, oh, this is when the tears start coming. Like, think about what that says about, like, all of the messages this show has taught us about perseverance and never giving up and fighting for what's right and fighting for what you believe in. They were doing that. They did that for as long as they could. And Dean knew this was it. And he was ready for it. I mean, he was ready to die. He'd lost everyone except Sam. And he felt like, you know, all those talks they had about legacy and leaving the world a better place than they found it, and how, like, the people they saved would be their legacy. That's exactly what that was. They saved the kids, they defeated the vamps, and Dean was dying, but he knew it was okay, because he'd left the world better than he found it. He and Sam had worked together to make the world a better place. And he did go out guns blazing, like Dean always wanted to go out guns blazing. And all those people who are saying Jensen always wanted Dean to go out guns blazing and this wasn't guns blazing, that's just so not true. He died doing exactly what he's been doing all these years, and he died protecting the world. Would you rather they have been killed by God? No, I freaking love that they defeated God. I love that that's the legacy they're leaving. that they saved the world for the last time. And it's the one little thing after all of this that just finally takes him out. I mean, I think that's beautiful. I think that's so... I don't know why people say it's out of character. I think that's so true to who these characters are and the messages of the show. Now, besides that confession, oh my God. All of the times in this show that we've seen raw emotion and we've seen Sam and Dean have brotherly moments and emotional moments, Dean has never opened up as much as he did in that moment. On his deathbed, when he knew the end was coming. All that, and still, like, he knew he was dying, and all that mattered to him, all he wanted to see was that Sam was okay. He told Sam to come closer, and that there he is such a, like, he's good. He's good. Like, I did what I sought out to do all these years. He's good. I die. He's good. As long as he's good, that's what matters. And, like, I'm, like, spacing out and thinking about it. But, like, God, I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch this, like, ever again. It's just going to be so much. I can't do it. Okay. And everything that he said, talking about how he was scared to go into Sam's room, how he was outside the dorm for hours because he was worried that Sam wouldn't want to see him. And everything that came of that, because deep down, they were still brothers. And they still love each other. And everything about that confession was beautiful. And at the end of it all, he says the one thing that he's never said. Like, I've never heard him say this word on the show at all. He said, "I love you, my baby brother." And I just... I don't know how I'm gonna rewatch this with Sam later. It's gonna be a mess, dude. I'm never gonna be able to get through this, like, ever again with anyone. Okay. Okay. So, everything about that. And then Sam's so desperate. But the thing is, it's that same admission that Dean has. Like, he knows it's time, and he knows it's time for him to move on. And Sam wants to fight it, but he knows. And he can see that it's what Dean wants. Like, it's... And Sam... Please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. I was not expecting to lose it halfway through the episode. I was expecting to lose it at the end of the episode. I was wrong. Okay, I stand corrected. But... And then after... And, okay, that... head touch, the forehead, dude, I write that in my sibling fics, like, all the freaking time, because it's one of my favorite things ever, is the little sibling head touch. Like, I wish my siblings and I did it, but we don't. But, like, I love the intimacy of that, because it's such an, like, it's such an underrated gesture, like, that forehead touch, and they did it. Like, I freaking, forehead touch, freaking forehead touch. Like, oh my God. I love that. I love the forehead touch. It's one of my I'm not functioning very well. Okay. They did the forehead touch. And then I need you to tell me that it's okay. And Sam doesn't want, because it's not okay, because he doesn't want to lose him. But, dude, strong endgame vibes here. Like, it's not okay. But he knows it's what Dean needs, and he knows it's what Dean wants. And so he says it. And the touch on the hands. He touches his hands, and he just says, Dean, it's okay. You can go now. And then Dean just dies, like, in his arms, on his shoulder. And I still, like, I thought they were messing with me. Like, I was like, no, this is not how this works. Like, what? Huh? Her? Like, what the frick? And then, like, so I thought they were kidding. And I was, like, crying and sobbing. And my mom was, like, sobbing next to me. Like, this is just... And then there's a commercial break. And people are being way too perky for how upset I am right now. And then it cuts back to Sam. And he's burning his body. And I was like, no! Like... It just proves it's the end. Because once the body burns, there's no coming back. Like, you couldn't at least bury him? Like, no, they couldn't. Because if they could come back, this wouldn't be the end now, would it? And the thing is, like, I knew they were going to die. Like, I was, like, 100% convinced that they were going to die at the end of this. But this was not the way I expected it to go down. Like, at all. Like, it just... it hits different. So, the burning of his body was awful and heart-wrenching. And then it just got worse, because then I was just getting such strong vibes from, like, season 9. Because Sam, like, went back to the bunker and, like, went in his room and, like, looked at all of his untouched stuff and, like, the unmade bed. And, like, the dog! Dude, the dog at the beginning, like, gave me such amazing feelings. And, like, I just was, like, so excited to see the dog and see them being all domestic and adorable and cuddling. Dean's cuddling the dog was the cutest thing ever. So then when they walk into the room and the dog is, like, following Sam and he's, like, whimpering and Sam just says, like, me too, but, like, they bonded! Dean and that dog bonded! So he's, like, looking at everything, the photos, and that's when I was getting, like, the season 9 vibes, like, when he died, and so... It was bad. It was bad. So... Maybe I should post this on YouTube. You know what? I don't even care how formal or informal this is. It's just gonna go up, because I feel like if I can't share these, I gotta share these thoughts with someone, right? Yeah, well, hello, audience. I have an audience now. Oops, here we go. 18 minutes, this is gonna be long. Will YouTube even let me post? I don't know, I've never tried to post a video longer than, like, 5 minutes. Guess we'll find out. Alright, so moving on. Funeral pyre. So then Sam... And then when the cell phone rang, I was like, oh my God, who's it gonna be? I was like, I was scared. At first I was like, I was still kind of in denial, so I was like, is it Dean? Is it Cass? Like, is it someone that I want to be alive that isn't alive? Like, what? But of course it wasn't. It was just like an FBI agent. Oh, back up. FBI agents. Agents Singer and Kripke? What the frick? Like, actually though, like, what the heck? This show, man. So, where was I? Phone call. Yeah, clearly I'm just a mess. It's probably a good thing that I didn't try to type this on my reactions blog because it's just not going to get me anywhere. So continuing, and I'm continuing just like pull my hair to the side because this is my coping mechanism for anything, is just putting my hair. You guys are seeing my lovely face of just tears. Isn't it great? Awesome. So he answers the phone, and first of all, Agent Bon Jovi was like a... Okay, because look, I sang Wanted Dead or Alive at one of the Supernatural conventions, and I sang karaoke there, and I talked about it in, like, my big Goodbye Supernatural post that I put up earlier today. Like, I miss Dean. Like, Jack may be my favorite character, but Dean was my favorite until Jack existed, and he was still my second favorite, like, this entire time, because I just love him and everything about him, and... Agent Bon Jovi. I'm not okay. So, anyways, Sam picks up the phone, and then it's just like, hey, and the dude's like, Agent Bon Jovi. And I thought that Sam was gonna say something about like, oh yeah, no, this is his partner, but nah, he was just like, yeah, that's me. And I was like, oh god, that actually like hurts more than if he had said this is his partner, because like, So, although I guess that would be kind of awkward. But anyways, so then when the dude is like, oh yeah, first of all, down here in Austin, Texas. Yeah, I heard that, Supernatural. I heard you say that. This show. Like, okay, first of all, obviously that's a reference to Jensen and Jared because they live there. But also, like, is that secretly a reference to Walker, too? Is that where Walker takes place? I really don't know. Like, that was, my first thought was, oh my god, Jensen and Jared. And my second thought was, are they trying to connect this to Walker and be like, oh, this is why Jared Padalecki is suddenly in Texas? I don't really know, because I don't actually know where Walker takes place, because I only kind of, like, vaguely know about it, and I just know I'm gonna watch it because Jared's in it, like, whatever it's about. But anyways, so, Austin, Texas had a freak out while crying, so that just, like, got worse. But, yeah, so then he's like, oh yeah, bodies, heart's missing, cool. And the fact that Sam just, like, stands there for a minute and just, like, doesn't answer, to the point where the sheriff has to be like, agent? Oh, also, see, this is how, like, befuzzled I am. This is why I should do, like, live reactions, but I just, like, I did some I typed up in my Supernatural group, and I thought about recording the whole thing, but I was just like, no, because then I'm going to be too stressed about the recording, and I just want to be able to, like, focus on it. So I just focused on it instead, and this is where we're at. But anyways, him being like, oh, we have these bodies that are missing hearts, and Donna Hanscom told me that you're the person to call. First of all, to those of you who are all like, well, we don't know that their friends and family came back, that's proof right there. Also, like, to reiterate, like, just remember that, like, they had to film the last 2 episodes during COVID, so you, like, it was probably really hard to get certain guest stars back, and there were probably a lot more that they wanted to have that they couldn't have. So, like, be nice. Like, they filmed the last 2 episodes under COVID precautions, people. Like, cut them some slack. So, anyways, to continue, that just, like, proves that they all came back and that Sam and Dean were bound to have checked on them and that, like, they're all okay. Like, I think that just proves that they're all, like, that they're fine. The fact that she was alive, because she was one of the ones that disappeared. So if she's back, then everyone else is back, you know? So, like, that's confirmation right there, since we couldn't get, like, visual confirmation. So anyways, so Austin, Texas, werewolves, all that stuff. And the fact that he just stands there for a minute, and the fact that Dean said, always keep fighting, broke me in half. Because reasons. Because that's been, like, a big thing of this fandom the entire time. And as I was, like, watching, like, I felt like I could see that in Sam's face. Like, I could see him sitting there and going and feeling like, I can't do this. I can't go on without him. But remembering what his brother told him to do, to the point where when the sheriff then goes, agent, he's like, yeah, I'm on my way. And, like, saying goodbye to the bunker? as he like packs his bag, and we see, here come the tears again, and we see the initials and the names on the table again, and the dog's just like pitter-pattering after him, and he goes up the stairs and he looks at it all one last time, and he says goodbye to their home, the home that he shared with his brother for the last 7 years. The place that he's called home, but that's never gonna be the same home without his brother in it. And he says goodbye, and the lights turn off and everything shuts down, just like we saw in the freaking promo. That was emotional, obviously. I pretty much, like, when I was watching it, I started crying during Dean's goodbye scene, and then just, like, didn't stop. Like, screw commercial breaks. I was just still sobbing, like, through the commercial. It was bad. Like, I just didn't. And it just got worse. Like, the ugly sobbing. When they said ugly sobbing, they weren't kidding. Like, it was bad. So then, you know, he presumably goes and does the hunt. But then we get back to Dean. And Dean's in heaven. And, like, can we talk about the fact that the person that greets Dean in heaven is Bobby? Like, can you think of anything more perfect? Like, it's not Mary or John, because, sorry, not sorry, they suck as parents. It's the person, excluding Cass and Jack because reasons, it's the only other human in his life besides Sam that has been there for him through everything. And Dean's just in heaven, and Bobby's just like, hey, we've been waiting for you. And, like, that moment, and they're in front of the roadhouse, like, I didn't realize that's where they were at first, but then when Dean walks out to the Impala and you see it, I was like, the roadhouse, also, like, I love that tweet that Samantha Ferris put up where she was like, oh, the roadhouse was in the finale, therefore so were we, suck it. And I was like, yes, like, you go, girl, you be awesome. So, like, anyways, and they've, like, that little moment between Bobby and Dean, and, like, okay, there's so much to unpack with that. The thing is, like, I want to rewatch it so I can see all of the moments again and, like, unpack them the second time and, like, appreciate them a second time, but I just can't do it right now. Like, even just talking about it, I'm crying. I can't. I need a minute. Like, I need a minute. And by a minute, I mean, like, a week. Next week, there isn't going to be any more Supernatural. God, okay. Anyways, I'm really not fine, guys. Isn't this so stellar? Okay, so that whole conversation between Dean and Bobby that I wish I could, like, quote from memory, but I just, like, can't because I'm struggling and because I didn't watch it more than once, and I really should have, but I just, like, can't handle it. So, that whole thing, okay, all those people out there who are being like, Cass and Jack weren't even mentioned. Like, what the frick? Why'd they make it a Bronley's ending and not even mention Cass and Jack? Did you all miss that conversation? Because Bobby is literally like, oh yeah, that kid of yours, like, freaking made heaven awesome. And then Dean was like, all on his own. And Bobby's like, nah, with Cass. Which, A, confirms that Jack pulled Cass out of the empty. And B, after that, Bobby says that this is the heaven that Dean deserves. So for those of you who are like, not enough respect given to Cass and Jack and the relationship between them and the boys, excuse you, Cass and Jack literally worked together to make a heaven that Dean deserves. Like, and you all are like, oh, okay, so we're not even, like, Dean didn't even acknowledge the Cass thing or the Jack thing. Like, okay, I admit, he was a little, like, apathetic during the pie contest thing, like, the pie fest thing. But that's also, like, how he is. Like, he moves on. He doesn't like to sit in things because it just makes him hurt more, and it's, like, that's how he's always been. Which is why the confession with Sam was such a big deal, because he finally opened up and, like, told Sam everything he's felt about him over the years that he hasn't said out loud. Like, that's how he is. But he's subtle about it. So when Bobby says that thing about Jack, he's proud. Like, you can see it in Jensen's acting. He's proud of his son for doing that. And then when Bobby mentions Kaz and mentions that Kaz helped, he smiles because he realizes what that means. He realizes that Cass is in heaven and he's with Jack and they're happy as father and son together doing whatever. And he smiles because he knows that that's like what was meant to be. Like, that's how it should have been. And that's like the other defense I have for this finale is like everybody's sitting here being like, they spent all this time talking about how family doesn't end with blood. And then in the end, it was all just about the brothers. And like, yeah, family doesn't end with blood. And they've made that pretty clear. I mean, last week's episode, they did that whole montage with all the characters. And this week's episode, they still did like a little send-off with Cass and Jack. They still brought Bobby back. They literally they had like an hour special that talked about all of the friends and family and had all these actors that have been in it over the years that they've loved and grown to appreciate. But they also said in that special, and always have said, that the core of the show will always be Sam and Dean. So obviously the ending is going to be Sam and Dean centric. Like, yeah, I love their family and friends. I love all the people that have become part of their family over the years. And the show does too. That's why it had that montage. That's why it included them. That's why they had stories and grew and were a part of the show. But it's not about them. It's about Sam and Dean and their relationship. And that's why in the end, that's what it came down to. So then when Dean and Bobby are talking and Bobby can tell that Dean is like not happy. Like, he's happy for Cass and Jack and he's happy to see Bobby and he's happy that heaven is the way it is. But he's missing the other part of himself, his brother. And Bobby just says he'll be along. And you can see that Dean's like, well, how long do I have to wait for him? And Bobby's just like, nah, like, time works differently. You'll see him soon. But you can do anything you want, so what do you want to do? And the shot of the Impala with the original Kansas license plates. Like, and then Dean just saying, I'm going to go for a drive. I don't care how out of character you think Dean was in this episode. That is one of the most Dean things to ever Dean. Because what has he always done? Like, before he went to get Sam at Stanford, I guess we don't know that much about it, but like, whenever he was mad at Sam, whenever he was mad at anything, what did he come back to? The car. He always worked on the car. He always drove in the car. Like, that was his thing. That was his safe space. That was part of their home. I mean, that episode Baby pretty much proved that. The car is like his safe space. So when he can't have Sam, he has the car. And he's waiting for Sam. He just says he's going to go for a drive. And that's a beautiful thing. And Bobby's like, have fun. You go for it. Because he knows that this is what Dean needs. And he gets in that car. And when he turned on the radio and Carry On Wayward Son started playing, I would like to say I lost it, but I had kind of already lost it. So I guess I just lost it even more. Carry On Wayward Son started, and I think that's when like the ugly sobbing truly took place. Because then we see the beautiful montage of Dean just spending his first day in heaven just driving anywhere and everywhere he wants as his little brother that he's so proud of and that he said goodbye to and that he loves more than anything is finally able to grow up and live the life that he deserves. I understand that people are saying that there wasn't any character growth, but I disagree. Dean's story was always going to end with him dying. It was bound to happen. Jensen's been saying that for years. Dean's been saying that for years. And as much as I would have loved to have seen him get a happier ending, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what should have happened. Sam's story was always ambiguous. He was always the one that, as much as he was there for his brother, and as much as he hunted and looked for people and everything, he was always the one that had more of a shot at a normal life. I mean, even in this past season, we've seen it with Eileen. Like, obviously the Destiel thing was huge, but that wouldn't be a normal life. I mean, they'd still be hunting, but it wouldn't be like that apple pie life. But Sam, as much as he said he didn't want it, and as much as he grew to, like, appreciate who he was and who he's grown up to be, he always had that shot at normalcy, a shot that Dean never had. Dean had to grow up too fast to ever live a normal life. But because Dean grew up, Sam didn't have to. So Sam has always had a chance to be normal. That's part of the whole theme. That's part of the original themes. It brings us right back to the season 1 roots. So the fact that Sam finally got to live that apple pie life was amazing. And obviously, like, he never stopped thinking about his brother. I mean, that shot where it starts on the kid and the kid says, like, Dean on their overalls. At first I was like, oh, is this part of Dean's heaven? Like, is this a memory? But then it pans up and it's Sam, and I was like, that's his kid! I was like, he had a kid! Oh my god, and he named it after his brother. Like, that's totally how that should have ended. Because it made perfect sense for their characters. Dean dying for his brother and always doing everything for Sam so that Sam could go be normal. So Sam could get with a girl. And I know everyone's arguing and mad that it wasn't Eileen, but very technically speaking, we don't know that it wasn't Eileen because the character was blurred out. And I'm guessing that they probably couldn't get Shoshana Stern back because of COVID. So try not to beat up on them too much for that, because remember, they were filming under COVID restrictions. Like, we're lucky that we were able to still get as beautiful of an ending as we had, given the circumstances. So, for the record, my headcanon is that the woman who was blurred out in the background is Eileen, and that boy Dean is their kid, because I think that would be beautiful, and I think that's totally what the writers were going for. So, I'm sticking with that. But, like, bouncing back and forth between watching Sam grow old with his family and watching Dean just drive down the road like he has for years was amazing. And yes, I will admit, the old Sam thing looked kind of terrible, and they probably should have just done a different actor and, like, CGI Jared's face over it. But, like, you know, time constraints, COVID, I don't know. Flaws, who cares? It was Jared. It worked, okay? Like, whatever. It could have been worse. Could have been better, but I don't even care because it was so beautiful. That moment where it shows the shot of Dean driving, and then it cuts to old Sam walking into the garage and pulling out the Impala, and then, like, clearly I remembered the second half of the episode a lot more than the first because emotional impact, but, like, can you blame me? Which is weird, because I was crying so much that I could barely see the screen. But, like, that was big, okay? Like, I remember the first half. I do. It's just, there's just not as much to talk about other than just, like, domestic Winchesters being adorable, and I love them. And, like, Sam doing laundry, by the way. Like, the fact that, just the way he kicks it and is, like, okay, I really should have just started from the beginning. Whatever. I'll come back. But the fact that he just kicks, like, the washing machine or dryer or whatever it was and is like, it starts making noise and he's like, hold on, kick, and then just, like, shrugs and continues reading his book as it keeps going, and, like, Dean hugging the dog, and then with the breakfast and just, like, I'm backing up so much, I'm all over the place, but you know what, I don't even care, hopefully you guys can follow my train of thought. Making breakfast together, and Sam literally saying, like, it's hot, and then Dean grabbing it and being like, oh, hot. I flat out was like, Dean, he literally told you. But that's, like, such a thing that they would do, and, like, their little routine was so adorable, and I just loved it. And then when Sam left the bunker, and he was making breakfast, and he turned around because the toast popped up, and Dean wasn't there, that, like, broke my heart in half. So anyways, back to what I was saying about the beautiful montage. Watching that kid grow up and watching Sam, like, play catch with him and help him with homework and everything was beautiful. And then to have old Sam go into the garage and uncover the Impala and get in the driver's seat and just, like, sit there for a minute and bask in his brother's essence in the car. And then he takes off the glasses and he grips the steering wheel and just settles into it. I'm not going to lie, I 100% thought he was going to, like, pass away in the car. Like, I thought that was going to be the thing. I was wrong. I was okay with being wrong based on what happened next. But, like, and then it cuts to Dean driving and he's got, like, the same grip and it's just, like, brothers! Even when one of them is dead, they're still connected and, like, it's a beautiful thing. So then, like, and then, you know, we have the scene where he's on his deathbed and he's got the little IV and he's got all those pictures of everyone in his family of, like, him and his brother and Mary and John, and then, like, all those pictures of him and Dean and, like, those pictures of him and Cass and Jack, like, just all those family pictures freaking broke me. And and then his son comes over, and you see, and I noticed it when he turned off the alarm clock before, but I didn't really, like, catch it. Like, I saw it, and then it connected, but then his hands are on his stomach, and his son comes over, and you see that Sam's wearing his brother's watch. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through this. And when his son comes over, and it matches, and he puts his hand on his dad and says, Dad, it's okay. You can go now. And the expression that Jared made, the face that Sam has there, it's relief and it's love and it's affection, but more than anything, it's him thinking about his brother and remembering those words. And while I'm talking about parallels and while I'm crying, back to the freaking confession goodbye scene with Dean and Sam. I can't do this alone. Yes, you can. Yeah, well, I don't want to. This show! All of its callbacks! Everything it does to me. They just made reference after reference because they hate us. And, I mean, they hate us, but they love us. But, like, okay. So, Sam's death scene. So he dies. And Dean gets to that bridge. And I knew Sam was going to show up at this point. Like, I was just waiting for Sam to be somewhere on that bridge. Like, I thought he was going to, like, show up in front of the car. I don't even know. Like, I was like, he's going to show up. So I was just, like, waiting and waiting. I was, like, waiting. Like, where is he? And so, like, when Dean, like, gets out and he puts his hands on the railing and he looks out, the second that he, like, can we just talk about the fact that he knew he was there? Like, Dean is alone, okay? He is, like, it is him and baby on this bridge. And Sam, like, appears in heaven. Like, it's not like he, like kind of like Dean did. He's just going to appear there, right? So it's not like he made footsteps or anything. Dean just knew. Like, the second they were together again, Dean knew he was there. And, like, the way he just smiles and looks, like, just smiles and does this little, like, side eye. And then, hey, Sammy. And then he turns around. And it's Sam, exactly as he remembers him, the same age. And for Dean, it's been like, I don't know, a week? Probably not even, it's probably been like a day. Like, for Sam, it's been years, but for Dean, it's been like a day or two. And all of this, like, Cam even said was through all of this. Like, that just didn't help. And then it got to, like, the slow music, like, as Sam was dying and everything. And, like, Sam just says, Dean. And then that hug, it's like all of their hugs that they've ever had, like, put into one, and just, it was so beautiful. And just to see each other again, to be in each other's arms again, just like they have been for the last 40-something years. Brothers together again. And then the fact that Dean grabs his shoulder the exact same way he did at the end of the 19th episode and just leads him towards the railing, and they both just lean on each other with their hands on the railing as it stares off and pans out into this beautiful landscape that they get to enjoy with each other for the rest of their afterlife. It's a beautiful moment. It's the perfect ending to Supernatural. That is the ending I was expecting. I was expecting Sam and Dean in heaven together, loving each other, there for each other, just like they always have been, and just enjoying the rest of their afterlife together. And it was perfect. And then after all of that, the Robert Singer comes on. And then we're back. And it's Jensen and Jared. And they're thanking us for 15 years. They're telling us thank you for supporting them. And all I could think was, thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here for 15 years. For making my life what it is. This show has made me who I am today, and they are the reason for that. And the fact that they just... That was really disgusting. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't post this. I'm gonna post this and just put my feelings and my disgusting sobbing out there for the whole... You should have seen me during the actual episode. This is an improvement. I can talk. I couldn't talk during the... Full, like, I have a funny story about that. Remind me that I have a funny story about that. I don't know who I'm saying remind me to, because I'm the only one down here in my room, but whatever. Like, Jensen and Jared sitting there thanking us, and then the camera pans out, and it's every single cast and crew member that they could have had for 1520 just on that bridge waving goodbye. That was the best frickin' ending to this show I ever could have asked for. And it was during COVID. It was after 15 years of this long, amazing story of two brothers who would go to the ends of the earth and back for each other. And I thought that ending was perfect. I was full on ugly sobbing, like breath heaving, like chest heaving, breath hitching, cries out loud. My entire family could hear me. My mom was also crying, but not quite as loud as I was, because I am a maniac and overly obsessed with this show. While I'm talking about the ugly sobs, my mom, after it was all said and done, like, I have a 9-year-old brother, or 9-year-old, wow, he's way older than that. I have an 11-year-old brother, Forget that. This is how messed up I am. I can't even remember how old my own siblings are. Like, sorry, I had a notification on my phone. So, like, my 9-year-old brother, I said it again, my 11-year-old brother, God, I can't function. I was upstairs in his room, and he was, like, getting ready for bed and everything, and my mom goes out to say goodnight to him, and she told me that she walked in, and he like, looked up and smirked at her and went, "So I'm guessing the episode's over." So if that doesn't tell you how badly and how loud my crying was, I mean, he was upstairs, like, in his room with the door shut, and he could hear me just, like, dying. So, yeah. The point of this entire thing is, A, to cry on camera and react, because I don't have the capabilities to type out all of my reactions, nor do I have the capabilities to watch that again yet, because here I am sobbing and it's not even on. I'm just sobbing. The point of all this was to say that I loved that episode, and I thought it was a perfect ending for the Winchester brothers and for this entire show. And between the 15-19 season finale and this series finale, I feel like things did get wrapped up. I mean, obviously, there are more stories that could be told, because there always are. But for a show that's been going on for 15 years, I felt like this was perfect. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that disagree with me. I know a lot of Destiel fans are really mad that we didn't get to see Cass again, and that we didn't see Dean, like, confess his love verbally, and that we didn't see Cass and Dean reunite in heaven. And I know that a lot of other fans are upset because they feel like Dean's death was unjustified. But I really feel like it all fit. In the end, everything happened exactly the way that Kripke would have wanted it to. And I know I read that article that said he would have wanted, like, a horror ending. But, like, the season 1 Sam and Dean have grown, and they have changed, and they've experienced so much. But at their core, they're still themselves. And this ending just finished that for them. It just epitomized the personalities they already had and made them work and made them beautiful. And I think that's something to really appreciate. I loved this episode. I loved this series finale. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Now, if you'll all excuse me, I need to cry myself to sleep, because anytime I think about this show for too long, I lose my mind. Thank you, Supernatural, for giving us 15 years of Sam and Dean Winchester. 15 years of family and perseverance and kindness and always doing what is right and never giving up. Thank you to the Supernatural cast and crew for putting in those 15 years, some a little less, some a little more, to bring to life these amazing characters in a way that taught us all so much. I've tried on Facebook and on Tumblr and on various other social media to post about how much the show has meant to me and to explain how it's changed me. But it's impossible to put it all into words. I was 11 years old when I started watching Supernatural. I'm 20 now. I made it through middle school, high school, and college all while watching this show, and it's impacted me every step of the way. It's made me more confident in who I am. It's helped me learn how to be kind to others. It's helped me learn the importance of family and friends in your times of need. It's helped me learn how to be a better big sister. It's taught me how to be me in a way that nothing else ever could. And it ended in a way that just made all of that feel worth it. This show will always mean so much to me. And, you know, I quote it all the time because it's one of my favorite quotes that anyone in the cast has ever said, but Jensen was exactly right. Supernatural, the show may end, but what it's built, this will never end. This family, this fandom. I know some of us are upset. I know a lot of people are angry, but I hope that everyone can appreciate this show for what it created and what it did. And even if the finale wasn't your favorite thing, or even if you don't appreciate it as much as I did, but you can appreciate it for its little things, I hope you still appreciate this show and these actors and the time they put into it and the messages it taught us and the things that it created and the family that it created in its 15-year run. Because whether the finale was the best thing or the worst thing, it'll still leave a legacy. Because that's what the show has always been. I am incredibly grateful for that. And I know that this show will always be in my life. It'll be in my family's lives, my kids' lives, because, believe me, I intend to share this with everyone I possibly can. It had an amazing run, and to me, it ended perfectly. And I'm so glad that we got to watch Jensen and Jared grace our screens for 15 long years and teach us so much in the process. Thank you, Supernatural. Thank you.